Hello and welcome to this episode of Chew the Cud. I'm John Houston, Director of Business Services for ProTrition Feed. We're glad you're joining us this evening. As we join you this evening, we are filming our final version of Chew the Cud, at least for the time being. Over the last year, we've had a great success and provided lots of information to you on Chew the Cud for small ruminants. We've talked about marketing. We've talked about cuts of meat that come from both sheep and goats. We've talked about nutrition that's required both for our young kids and lambs, or even our older and more productive animals such as the does and the ewes and the rams and the bucks. We're so fortunate to have the expertise to share this information with you. We've had a lot of guests that we really appreciate that have joined us on Chew the Cud. Very much appreciate folks from the Department of Agriculture, Dr. Kevin Cox, some ag teachers, some 4-H agents, and all have provided a lot of great information. Some of the things that excites me is even talking about the show ring, that we've been able to talk about some of the needs and issues of showing sheep and goats. We have one of the best 4-H and FFA programs in the nation in Tennessee, and we're so proud of that and always eager to talk about that, and have been able to do that with Chew the Cud. In addition to that, we've been able to talk about some disease issues and some performance issues that I hope have helped you. But as we think about this particular filming, we want to talk about kidding and lambing. As we film this, we are at the end of January. You're probably looking at this sometime in February. I know on my farm, where we have several head of sheep, we are in the middle of lambing. A lot going on. We currently have about 70 babies on the ground and still have about half of the flock to lamb. So I know that you as well are working hard both with kidding and lambing, and we want to make sure that you have some information if you need it. First of all, we want to be sure and inform you that, as these ewes and does are kidding and lambing, that they do require a more higher plane of nutrition to nurse these babies. So we want to beef that up. We want to be sure that they're in good condition. And one of the main things that we want to be sure about is that we're providing adequate nutrition. If we're providing more than adequate, then it's costing us money for one thing, but it's also could be causing more damage than good when we get our ewes and our does too fat. So we want to be sure that we're providing adequate nutrition, but that we are increasing that nutrition to provide for those kids and those lambs as they provide the milk for those. We also want to, before lambing, which is a little late now if we already are lambing, but we want to make sure that we've done those things necessary to provide good colostrum quality with our vaccinations and even beefing up that nutrition as we move along. As we go through these colder months and colder days with lambing, we want to make sure that we're providing some extra energy if needed. A lot of people like tubs, but forage is a big issue, and we want to make sure that they have plenty of good forage to be able to utilize through these colder days and colder weeks. Mineral supplementation, we had a great filming on mineral supplementation, but I can't stress enough that with our does and ewes, that we really need a good mineral supplementation program that includes some organic sources of trace minerals. And we want to make sure that you understand that trace mineral salt, while it is titled trace mineral, is extremely trace. Most trace mineral salt will be approaching 98 to 99% salt and just a trace of mineral. So it should not be a substitute for a good mineral program. A lot of people get confused about that, but we want to make sure that we're providing a good solid mineral. And if we are, we really don't need another salt out there. So as we talk about trace mineral salt, we want to be sure that we are providing a good mineral supplementation for both sheep and goats. And that brings me to my next point, that while we do talk about small ruminants, we typically lump sheep and goats together, but we all know that they are completely different animals. While they are ruminant animals and small ruminant animals, they do have different requirements nutritionally, and we want to be sure that we realize that. They are different animals also from a disposition standpoint, the way they act, the whole 9 yards, they are different animals. And we want to point that out. But as we talk about nutrition, we do realize that sheep have a very low tolerance to copper. And so most of the copper that they require is coming through the forage. And so we need to feed products that have no added copper, and that includes our mineral and our feedstuffs that we supplement our forages with. So we want to be sure that when we're feeding sheep, that we're buying a sheep product that's formulated for sheep that has no added copper. With our goats, that's not the case. So goats don't have the same low tolerance for copper. Both have a requirement for copper, but certainly sheep have a much lower requirement. We want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration as we feed our sheep and our goats, because goats have a higher requirement for copper, and we want to be sure that we are taking advantage of that and providing that in the right way. So as we wind up Chew the Cud, I want to thank you for joining us for each episode. You've been so good as we watch our numbers, as we look at these videos, and the folks that are watching, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for being a co-op customer. We certainly appreciate your business so very much. And if there's any way that we can help you with your production, if there's any way that we can assist you with your sheep or your goats, we would love to do that. We would love to talk with you further. Please contact us through your local farmers co-op, and we would love to help you in any way that we can to be more and more productive on your farm. We thank you so much for your business and your support of Chew the Cud. We hope you have a great evening, and we wish you much success through this lambing season. Have a great evening.